Welcome back to the Dino and Nelson Show, heard on weekends right here on KTLK AM 1150. And Dino, we've got another expert. We got introduced. Actually, I'm going to thank the OC Register because you published an article in the Register, and I thought it was so insightful because Christine was referencing how to proactively prepare to purchase, be engaged in the real estate process, and not just react to problem solving, but know what you're getting into. Christine Donovan with Donovan Blatt. Been in the business forever. You come from a long lineage of real
Four
estate
generations.
history. 4 generations of real estate. I mean, that dates back to when you got started, huh, Dino?
Yeah. I was going to, you cut me off. I was going to talk about the 4 generations, all women.
All women.
And judging from your personality, I'd say pretty strong women.
Pretty much. I think nobody would disagree with you on that one.
And 4 generations ago, great-great-grandma probably was... Can I say ball buster on air?
Well, you just did. I mean, what do you ask permission after you say it?
I figured he'd beat me if it was bad. Anyways.
It's better to apologize and ask permission. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Right.
You know, what's interesting, Dino, is that Christine also has a law degree, practicing attorney. So you come at it from a variety of different angles in terms of being able to give legal counsel. Do you give legal counsel in your real estate transactions?
I'm not quite sure how you do real estate without giving legal legal advice. I know they're not supposed to. I do explain to my clients that I am only representing them as a broker, not as an attorney, because I think it crosses too many lines. Though having said that, I know that my background and my knowledge helps my clients significantly as we go through the process. Also being able to explain things like a liquidated damages clause and things like that when we're going through the contracts.
My family also comes from a long history of real estate. And my father-in-law, he always makes the comment that to compete in today's real estate environment, you've got to have your notebook in one hand and a team of attorneys in the other in order to compete. Is it really that way?
I don't know if it's quite that bad, but I think he makes a significantly valid point. There is a lot of contract and a lot of paperwork. The contracts seem to get longer and longer. Every year we have more and more disclosures, probably because attorneys go out and sue people. And then they add things like errant golf ball clauses to disclosures.
Is it really in there?
Yes, it really
is. This is, and we've certainly seen this on the mortgage lending side of things. The attorneys have been busy. We have documents now that come, I don't know how thick these packages are getting, but it's 2 inches of documents, 3 inches of documents. What is it, Dino?
At least. It's don't even get me started. Nothing bothers me more than disclosures these days.
Isn't that why we're going paperless? We're going to save the forest, right?
Oh, gosh, we need to in the worst of ways. It's the most confusing thing you can do to a buyer or seller, for that matter, in a real estate transaction.
So what do you see in this marketplace? You have your 88 points of how to get prepared for the market and avoid a bumpy ride. What are some of the key things that you see in this real estate environment?
Again, some of the key things, and I think Jamie had mentioned it earlier, loans are an issue. They're difficult to do right now. People aren't prepared. One of the big things that we see is appraisals. The market is very hot right now. There's very little inventory, so people are willing to overbid prices. Problem is the appraisers are going to come in. They're going to look at what's sold most recently. What's sold, not what is currently selling. So the buyer might be willing to pay more for a house. Doesn't mean that the appraisals are going to come in. If the appraisals don't come in, the lenders aren't going to give them the loans unless they want to bring in more money.
And this is the guideline that we have to adhere to, where we're basing the loan to value off of the lower of appraised value or purchase price. So just because somebody's willing to pay it doesn't mean that we can finance it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the tough part with appraisals. And nowadays with all the new laws and the new appraisal laws, for that matter, loan officers are not allowed to choose the appraiser anymore.
No, and you wind up with people who are from out of the area, not familiar with the area. They're crossing from one area of town into another, not understanding that there might be different values once you've crossed a street.
And when you have certain areas, like in your area in Newport, you could literally have a $2-3 million house, and then 2 doors down have a $800,000 scraper.
You can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially up in Newport Heights, things like that happen all the time. You really need an appraiser who understands the area. And when you can't choose the appraisers and they're coming through the AMCs, unfortunately, that's not always the case. And that's not to say there aren't a lot of great appraisers. There really are. But sometimes I think the way things get assigned just doesn't work as well as it might otherwise.
You're listening to the Dino and Nelson Show, heard on the weekends right here on KTLK AM 1150. We're with Christine Donovan from the Donovan Blatt Group. And we're diving deeper on how to prepare in advance of going into a real estate transaction instead of maybe how you would do it, Dino, with that big spiral of black smoke following your transaction into the ground.
Wow.
So, Christine, let's hit another. You mentioned the lender, the appraisal problem. What are some of the other things that you're seeing specific to this market?
Specific to this market is obviously short sales. There's still a lot of short sale issues. A lot of the lenders have gotten better, but the problems have not gone away. I had one that went slightly sideways. It's probably going to turn out to be really great for the seller. They were closing a couple of days late. We were expecting an extension. There are new incentives out.
Right.
And so now the buyer expected to sign loan docs today and close in the next couple of days. We're not going to get that extension. We're going to have to go back through the process because we're expecting the seller to get a significant incentive, which would have been great if we'd known about it 2 months ago.
Right. And it seems to be characterized not only on the lending side, on the real estate side, like you're reporting, but this hurry up and wait kind of environment.
Very true.
And we're seeing this, across the board where, the consumer is getting the panic almost phone call of saying, I gotta. And then these large gaps of time, literally weeks and in some cases months that go by where they're going, all right, hold on. I gave you everything. What's the delay?
I wish I knew.
Yeah.
I can only imagine it's just huge stacks of paperwork. But a lot of the things that get really frustrating to my sellers in particular, they've given all of their documentation. We wait, as you say. And then lender comes back and says, the pay stubs are old. The bank statements are old. It's because you haven't done anything in 90 days.
Yeah.
And now it's hurry up and send them in and then wait and see if they're going to expire again while we
jump through
wait.
every hoop in the world to get us what we want, when we want it, right now. And then it's completely the opposite when you finally do. You don't hear back from them again.
No, and like I say, they've gotten better. I've been doing them since 2007, and they've gotten a lot better.
Now, let me ask you this. I had heard one time when dealing with short sales that as a realtor, when you send in the paperwork and do all that, it goes through the channel, the short sale channel. However, if an attorney on attorney letterhead were to write a letter, it goes to the legal department and usually is handled within 48 hours.
Not always.
Not always?
Mm-mm.
Do you ever sneak a little
I would never do
legal
something like
letterhead
that.
in just to try?
a little Christine Donovan Esquire.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great combo, being a realtor and a lawyer, an attorney. My gosh, I mean, there's so many little things that you can head off before they even become an issue. Right.
Well, and it's the same thing. And as Phil knows, our producer, Phil Giangron, the last thing I want to do is compliment Dino. But in our mortgage practice, the key to all of this is communication.
It's very important.
And the consumer, they have their big boy pants on. They can take the news as long as they hear it. And so just being proactively communicative, you like that word, Dino?
It's a good word for you.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's probably about as good as your soul.
You get the proactive phone call saying, hey, this is what's going on. It's going to be 3 weeks.